the Bible says differently. He said the strangest thing, and again, it was not biblical. What the heck? A husband is to want the best for his wife. He's to love her. He's to cherish her. He's to protect her. Yeah, this is weird. Now, if my fiancé came along and said to me, this video, I am taking a look at what C.S. Lewis said in his book Mere Christianity about Christian marriage. And then we're going to take a look and see how that compares to what God says in his word about Christian marriage. Before we get into the video though, I do want to make a distinction in that this is a discipleship issue. It is not a salvation issue, okay? This is about our walk with God and how we try to please him. But this has got nothing to do with our salvation, but there is a difference to what C.S. Lewis says and what God says. And I think it's quite important. So let's get into the video. First of all, there's quite a lot of what he says about Christian marriage that I do agree with, particularly the roles that men and women have. But then he said a thing and I'm like, what the heck? He's not selling it to me. I'll start by what he said. If you have the book, if you go to page 84, and this is in the social morality section, and he's talking about what a Christian society would look like. On the other hand, it is always insisting on obedience. A Christian society would always expect obedience and outward marks of respect from all of us to properly appointed magistrates, from children to parents, and, he puts in brackets here, I'm afraid this is going to be very unpopular, from wives to husbands. But I would agree with that. I mean, and it is Christian, it is written in the Bible that wives to be respectful to their husbands and to even submit to their husbands. And I agree with that. That is biblical. But he stops there. This is why I always think, whether it's deliberate or not, I don't know, but I often hear that, wives submit to your husbands, wives obey your husbands. And that's fine, I agree with that, but they don't go on with the next bit. And then Lewis says a very, very strange thing. First of all, we've got to look at, going back to the Garden of Eden, why was Eve even created for Adam? So we're told all the way back in Genesis, even God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make an helpmate for him. And then we're told, of course, where Adam is put into sleep and God takes a rib from Adam's side and Eve is created from Adam. Now I always think it interesting that Eve was created from Adam's side. She was to stand side by side with him. He didn't take the bone from his heel, where it's like Adam would be suppressing her. It was the rib was taken from his side. She was to stand side by side with him, and they were to help each other and form a partnership. Then later on, when we get to Ephesians chapter 5, verses 21 through 25, yes, we have this, verse 22, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. Wives have to submit to their husbands as they would to God. And that point isn't brought out very much. It's all just wives submit to your husbands, but you have to submit to your husband as you would to God. Now what does that mean? God, you submit to yourself to God because you know God has your best interests at heart. You know that God is going to listen to your worries, listen to your concerns, wanting to do the best for you all the time. So you will gladly submit yourself to him because you know how much he loves you. And then when we get down to verse 25, what do we get? Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So what husbands are instructed to love their wives as much the way Christ loves the church. A husband is to want the best for his wife. He's to love her. He's to cherish her. He's to protect her. And then the wife will gladly submit and respect him. So I feel sometimes the emphasis is put too much on the one side. Wives submit to your husbands, and it's left at that. But it's a whole partnership, and that, for me, is what has been described in Ephesians. Now, Lewis did omit that bit, but he wasn't incorrect in what he said, that wives are supposed to obey their husbands. Now, but then when we get to page 107 and he's talking about Christian marriage, there is a chapter before that about sexual morality, and I don't think I need to go into that because we all know what's right and what's wrong in that. Yeah, he said the strangest thing, and again, it was not biblical. He said about, he talks about marriage being, it's a promise. It's a vow. You go to your marriage vows and this is a promise for life, which of course it is, ideally. Now, then he says a very curious thing. Has nobody ever thought this was weird? Because, yeah, this is weird. He says on page 107, and of course the promise made when I am in love, and because I am in love, to be true to the beloved as long as I live, commits me to being true, even if I cease to be in love. Well, yeah, okay. Even if you fall out of love with your partner, that promise does still commit you to them. Yes. But a promise must be about things that I can do, about actions. No one can promise to go on feeling a certain way. So he's saying, I'm going to read all that again. And of course the promise made when I am in love, and because I am in love, to be true to the beloved as long as I live, commits me to being true even if I cease to be in love. A promise must be about things that I can do, about actions. No one can promise to go on feeling in a certain way. The Bible says differently. The Bible tells husbands to love their wives. When you make marriage vows, you pledge to love and honour your partner. You promise to love them for life. But yet Lewis says, no, it doesn't. He says that you can't promise to do that because that's a feeling, and no one can promise to go on feeling in a certain way. Well, heck, he's not selling it to me. I mean, okay, I'm engaged. Okay. Now, if my fiance came along and said to me, you know, dear, we're getting married here and I love you, but, you know, I mightn't be able to, I'm going to promise to be with you and I'm going to promise to be true to you, even if, well, somewhere down the line I've fallen out of love with you. I'd say, no thank you. Does nobody see this sort of thing? Just because he is oh goodness, I was such a C.S. Lewis fan. And ever from I've started reading this book, there's so many inconsistencies, there's so many, he started off well actually, but he's just getting lost, and this is supposed to be mere Christianity, it's supposed to be the core, but he's getting very vague and well, you can't make a promise about your feelings. Well, God says differently. God says that husbands have to love their wives. God says that wives have to submit themselves to their husbands as they would to God, who loves and cherishes them. And they have no problem submitting to God because he knows that God has their best interests at heart. Therefore, they love their husbands as well. Not according to Lewis. See, the point is, I don't see how a marriage could work if there was no love, or if one person had fallen out of love with the other one. I mean, just because you made a promise so many years previous that you're going to be true to this person, if there's no love, how on earth is the marriage going to get through the hard times? How on earth is it even going to enjoy the good times? It can't if the people don't love each other, or nearly even worse, if one loves the person and that love's not given back and reciprocated. It'll not work. Now, obviously, first and foremost, Christ is the glue that will hold the couple together ultimately. But what he's saying is not biblical. It is, husbands are told to love their wives, and wives are to submit to their husbands as they would to Christ. It's not going to work if they don't love each other. So he's wrong in that. For him to say a promise must be about things I can do, about actions, no one can promise to go on feeling in a certain way, is incorrect. I believe you can promise that, because otherwise God wouldn't instruct us in his word to love each other, even apart from marriage, but to love each other. And he wouldn't tell husbands to love their wives and for women to submit themselves to their husbands. And no matter what anybody says, a woman cannot submit herself to her husband if she does not trust him completely and if she does not love him. And she's only going to love him if he loves her and if he treats her with the love and respect that she deserves. So it's a partnership, standing side by side. Yes, the husband has the casting vote. He's the head of the household, and if she trusts him completely and works with her and decisions made together, she's going to let him have the casting vote if there was something that needed that. I wonder, did actually Lewis feel differently when he got married? People think of his marriage as being a great love story. I hope it was. I think it was, actually. So we've got to remember that he actually wrote this before he got married. Before he probably met, I don't know now the timeline of this, but I would imagine it before he even heard of his wife-to-be. So he is a man writing probably from the sense of never having been in love. So food for thought. Thanks for watching, guys, and leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.